Hey guys, welcome to this channel. In this video, we'll look at product management terms and specifically explain 10 terms that are important from the growth standpoint for you as a product manager. But before I jump into these terms, and I'm going to give you examples of each of these terms. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to the channel for the best product management content. If you have any questions, if you need any guidance, feel free to drop a comment here or reach out to me on Instagram and I'll write back to you. That in mind, let's get started. Number one is MAU, which is monthly active users. Important from the growth standpoint because this talks about the unique users that visit your platform, product, app or a service within a given month. This is a very common metric that everyone across product growth marketing talks about very frequently. So it's important that you know this as a product manager. Now, where can you find this number? If your website is connected with Google Analytics, then on Google Analytics, you can find this number. If you have an app, there's Firebase, or if you have an in-house platform, you can use certain tools, integrate those on your website and track this monthly active users. There is also DAU, which is daily active users, which is yet another important term for product management. So DAU refers to the unique number of users who visit your product, app, service, as opposed to given month when you talk about MAU. Number two is TOFU, which is the top of the funnel. Effectively, this refers to the early stages of the user journey or the acquisition part of the user journey, where users are first becoming aware of your product or a service and considering whether to try it or not. This is probably one of the most important stages for any product, and your product needs to communicate the value proposition that it offers very, very clearly. How this works is, for example, if you Google something right now, you'll see a bunch of results. Now, if you're Googling for a specific topic on a blog, you'll see that topic itself will act as your top of the funnel or the point of discovery, where looking at the name of the blog or the topic, you'll decide whether to or whether not to watch that specific video or a blog, etc. This is the acquisition part of the journey. Once the user decides to try out your product, it becomes the acquisition is successful. And once the user completes like your first journey, the user is activated. There's like a whole video on how this funnel works. I've added the link in the description, or you can check out my video on ARR framework to understand this in a little more detail. Number three is customer acquisition cost or CAC. This is the cost of acquiring a new customer. This metric is pretty important, especially if you are a new product. What this primarily consists of is marketing and sales expenses. For example, it is also frequently used with revenue in order to understand how much money you have to spend to earn this amount of revenue. Number four is lifetime value or LTV. This is the total value of a customer or the total value a customer is expected to generate for the business over their lifetime. How this is calculated is the amount of cost that you spend on acquiring this customer, and you take into consideration the expected time the customer is expected to spend on your platform itself. There is a formula for this, and I'm going to add that in the description. So if you're interested, go ahead and take a look at this. Number five is conversion rate. Effectively, this can be used in multiple contexts. For example, if you're looking at the overall conversion rate, it's when the customer discovers your product to when the customer purchases it, specifically from the e-commerce standpoint. But you can also look at this from a more isolated standpoint. For example, these amount of people saw our ad and then these amount of people clicked on our ad. So that's also conversion if you look at it from the context of ad clicks. Number six is retention rate. This is the number of users who continue to use your product over a time. This is also looked at from the time period perspective, right? So for example, if 100 users came to your website and the subsequent month 3 people came back to your website, so your retention rate is 3%. The ideal way to look at this number is from a 3-month, 6-month or a 12-month perspective. Very rarely you look at 12 months, but 3 months and 6 months is very important. So for example, if 100 people came to your website today, 6 months down the line, only 10 of these users came back, then 6-month retention rate is 10%. Churn rate is the number of users who stop using your product after a specific point. So for example, if 100 users started using your product this month and only 10 of these users actually continued to be the paid customers or the paid users, then 90% is your churn rate. This usually, when your product is new, this rate is high. What you should gun for is to reduce churn rate as much as possible as you progress throughout the user journeys. And how you effectively do is by building multiple multiple service lines or multiple product lines, multiple features that you can monetize and upsell in order for the user to continue using your platform or a product or an app. Number 8 is NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. This is a measure of loyalty and satisfaction calculated by asking customers to rate the likelihood that they would recommend your product, app, or a service to others on a scale of 0 to 10. So 1 to 6 is bad score, 7 and 8 is the neutral, so it's not counted, and number of users rating 9 and 10 is like a real promoters of your product. So you look at the number of people who've rated your product between 1 and 6 and number of people who've rated your product between 9 and 10, and that's how an NPS is calculated. I'm gonna add this in the description as well, so you can check the formula out. Number 9 is engagement. Effectively what this means is the extent to which the users are interacting with your platform, and to simplify this or to make this simple, it basically means the number of pages the user is visiting when they are coming to your blog, platform, or the number of features they are interacting on your product per se. Again, this is an important standpoint because if your engagement is bad, then your retention will be low and your customer lifetime value will also be low, meaning the customer will pay you less compared to the amount of time they spend on the platform. And the final metric is the BAU, which is business as usual. This may not be specific from the growth standpoint, but you hear this a lot when speaking to colleagues in the product department or the growth department, where if you ask how is the MAU or MRR, this would basically mean that it's business as usual. There is no specific or major drops on the product or service or on a specific page. So these are like the 10 concepts. Now, if you have to bring all of this together, you can look at if your NPS is bad, then your churn rate is high. Your conversion rate is low, then your customer acquisition cost is high. Your engagement is low, then your lifetime value is less. So all of this can be connected, and I'm going to talk about more metrics like MRR, ARR, etc. in the upcoming part 2 of this product management terms. But if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel, drop a like on this video, share this across with a friend who would benefit from this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much.